Our main character is Genzo. He is a strong and famous wrestler. Right now, he is preparing for the final match. At this moment, he is preparing for the final match of his career before retiring to open a pet store, because he simply loves animals. Just as he is fighting his final match against a tough opponent, Genzo and his dog are transported to another world. He meets a princess and many soldiers and officials. The princess wants him to help her drive away the monsters and the Demon King. I am to kill animals. But as soon as Genzo hears that the princess is asking him to kill animals, he becomes angry and throws a punch, knocking the princess out cold. He is angry about being summoned here. The officials and soldiers think Genzo is angry about being summoned here, so they ask him to calm down. At that moment, Genzo realizes he may have gone too far and covers the princess with his cloak. The soldiers see him disrespecting the princess and capture Genzo, forcing him to jump out of the window and escape. When he gets outside, people think he is a pervert, so he wants to avoid that. This makes it hard for Genzo to ask others for directions, since everyone avoids him. He thinks it's because he is wearing a mask, but as soon as he goes to throw it away, the guards come running, forcing Genzo to hide in an alley. He sits and talks with his dog, because as long as he has it by his side, he won't feel lonely anymore. Just then, he encounters two beastmen. The girl is Misa, and the young man next to her is her older brother. Both of them plan to trick Genzo and sell him, but whenever he sees animals or even beastmen, Genzo goes wild and charges at them. He goes for the older brother first. Genzo hugs this guy tightly and scratches him for a moment, and this young man becomes docile like a dove. They try to apologize, but it's useless. Now he stands up to catch his second prey. But nearby, there is a master who wants to sell the beastman maid because she eats too much. She is willing to be sold to anyone who can provide her 3 meals a day. Misa has the advantage to escape, since Genzo is focused on the wolf girl in front of him. He sees a beastman girl being bullied and immediately steps in. This old man is Iga and is acquainted with the two siblings. Iga sees Genzo and thinks he is a pervert because the wolf guy just got knocked out over there looking quite pleased. Genzo assesses Iga as a bad guy, so he approaches and gives him a hit just like he did with the princess. The two siblings are forced to take Iga away. Misa vows to take revenge, but Genzo remembers he hasn't petted those cat ears yet, so he chases after the wolf girl. Earlier, she called him to stop. She wants to thank him for saving her. She is Zigger. She was sold because she borrowed money from Ega for business, but lost and was stolen and had her ideas plagiarized by humans. Since she has no money to pay back, she gave herself to Iga. The girl wants to thank Genzo for saving her, but she currently has nothing to repay him with. So Genzo wants her to repay with her body, because after all, he still sees her as a wolf rather than a girl. The young wolf and Iga, upon returning to their hideout, are extremely frustrated with Genzo. These two are planning to steal Genzo's puppy. Genzo and Seigo have arrived at the Adventurers Guild to register for work to earn money. But the guildmaster looks a bit worried about Genzo and doesn't quite understand what he's saying because it's too confusing. However, when he hears about a monster attack, Genzo immediately runs off. So the guildmaster sees that he seems brave. Genzo is then led to the forest. The person accompanying him wants him to take a weapon for self-defense, but holding a weapon is embarrassing for a wrestler like him. Upon arrival, Genzo is excited because in front of him are 5 3-headed dogs. That means triple the fun. Genzo identifies the leader and then charges in. Genzo forbids anyone to come up. The people behind think he doesn't want to pull them into danger, so they are moved to tears. Genzo wrestles with the others, but avoids hurting them. And then he grabs the leader. He uses some taming techniques and successfully subdues the 3-headed dog. Thus, the whole pack follows him. At the end of the day, Genzo receives a reward to buy a suit and enjoys a delicious meal with Shiro. The money is enough for a while. Genzo decides he will bring about a world where humans, animals, and beastmen can coexist. He will show everyone how wonderful beastmen are. While he is rambling about the greatness of animals, the people in the guild keep mentioning that they were attacked by monsters and got injured. They claim they will definitely kill the monsters if threatened, but Genzo just sits there and doesn't care at all about what they are saying. Truly, a mind unshaken amidst the changing world. Genzo tells Tiger about his plan to open a pet shop, but she doesn't know what it is. Tiger understands that Genzo plans to capture monsters to receive money from the guild and then raise the monsters to sell to those in need, because the profits seem like they will be substantial, so she joins him. However, to carry this out, they need quite a bit of money. The wolf has asked to join Genzo's group, and he agrees. The two then go to the bulletin board to look for missions. Genzo sees a book, and a nearby person informs him that this book contains all the information about monsters, just what Genzo needs. However, that young man calls him a monster slayer for single-handedly taking on 5 three-headed dogs, gets angry, and punches the guy's head into the wall, because who would give such a name to someone who loves animals? Now the next problem is difficult, because Genzo still doesn't know how to read the writing of this world. He asks Ziegler to take the highest-paying mission, and the one chosen is to kill a fire-breathing lizard. Genzo looks at its picture in the book and drools. Just then, the strongest team of the guild, Hazi, arrives and wants to cooperate with Genzo to share the money. He was about to agree until he hears Hazi say he intends to kill the lizard. Then Genzo grabs him, spins him around, and throws him away. He then goes on the mission with Tiger. She, meanwhile, sees Hazi's precious sword and gets greedy, then steals it. He arrives near the volcano and successfully tames the lizard after it breathes a ton of fire in his face. Genzo carries the lizard back to turn in the mission and collect his reward. The young receptionist finds him quite scary and accidentally says the name of the monster slayer, causing Genzo to get angry and punch him. Both of them then leave. The Misa brothers, especially the older one, are still haunted by Genzo. Suddenly, Genzo and Ziegler burst in, causing both of them to flinch, but Tiger is only there to pay off her debt to Iga. The next morning, both of them go back into the forest to capture a troop of monkeys that have been causing trouble lately. As soon as they meet, Tiger panics because they seem angry, but Genzo lets them charge in. Just as they are about to reach him, he pulls out an apple to show them goodwill, so the monkeys listen to Genzo and become friends with him. After a day, both of them have managed to capture quite a few creatures in cages. Tiger thinks they should find a house as soon as possible, but buying a house now requires a lot of money. So the two return to the guild and take the most expensive mission, which is to defeat the Trantin. Genzo looks through the book and isn't interested because this whole is not an animal but a pure monster. But for the future of pets, he accepts it. Tiger's already interested because this whole pays a lot, so both of them don't hesitate. That evening, both of them still haven't reached the Trantin's location, so they take a break for a while. After a while, Seigo is bathing, when suddenly Genzo bursts in. Seigo is bathing when suddenly Genzo bursts in, but the real reason is that he discovered a unicorn, so he is too excited to pay attention to Seigo. Both of them then arrive at the camp of the Trantin. Nago told Seeger to stay outside while he goes in to handle things. As soon as he enters, he boldly challenges the strongest guy in this camp. He wants them to return the agricultural products they took from the people, but they don't take him seriously at all. He intended to resolve it peacefully, but then he had to resort to his fists. Both sides rush in to fight. Genzo is completely dominant, and after a good fight, he ends it with a suplex like always. With the leader being defeated, the Trantin elevates Genzo to be the new leader. But the next morning, he returns with Tiger. He feels grateful for the great fight last night, and will still let the current leader lead this group. He then happily runs back to find the unicorn. When he returns to the guild, he is praised and compensated by the guildmaster, but he accidentally mentions that forbidden name, and Genzo angrily snatches his beard. Both of them then bought a farm to raise and live in. Both of them then went to the bank to borrow money to start a business, but they needed to pay 20% of the loan amount. And since the amount was too large, neither of them could start the business for the time being, but both of them started to move their pets and belongings to the new house. Just as he was saying goodbye to the neighbor, he heard a puppy barking about something, so he went to check and discovered a dragon girl lying near his house. He brought her inside to rest. When she woke up, she was grateful for being saved. She also introduced herself as Linda and said she was an ordinary dragon girl. Genzo didn't suspect much and gave her a plate of fish to eat. She thought Genzo was inviting her to eat the puppy, so she was about to bite it if Genzo didn't stop her in time. As soon as Genzo said a word, Linda had already cleaned the plate of fish. Linda saw that he had quite a few animals, so she wanted to eat them all, but he informed her that he intended to open a pet shop and train the animals. Linda wanted to buy Genzo's puppy so she could train it. Just as she was saying she wanted to wait until it got fat, Genzo snatched the puppy back. He handed Linda a book and wanted her to show him which page had the dragon, but she made an excuse and slipped away. Sigourney also returned not long after. She smelled the dragon scent and questioned Genzo, and he told her what had happened. She also took Genzo to the guild because she had found a mission. The guild leader mentioned that a mysterious figure had been attacking passers-by at night recently. Genzo didn't care and was about to leave, but they mentioned this case was related to monster beasts, so he stayed to hear more details. The young man who was attacked described the traces and shape of the creature that attacked him as definitely a dragon. Genzo was completely interested, so he and Sig set out to find the young man. Hazar had a new sword, so he wanted to go with Jinzo to slay the dragon, but he ended up getting punched in the mouth by Ginzo. Tiger took the opportunity to grab the sword. The guild leader also trusted he could handle it, and accidentally mentioned his name, which led to trouble. The victim also accidentally said his name before Hazuki flew into Genzo's face. Then Sigourney arrived at the scene and investigated, finding a very strong dragon smell. Sigourney also mentioned that the smell was very similar to the one she had smelled at Genzo's house. Hearing that night, he put on his old wrestling outfit and set out to set a trap. Linda humorously found herself caught in the easiest way possible. Since Genzo was wearing a mask, Linda didn't recognize him at all. He admitted that he had set a trap for her, which made her think he was planning something inappropriate. But Genzo is an animal lover, not that kind of person. Suddenly, a group of people started chasing him. When they arrived, they found him and chased after him, thought he was kidnapping a child for something inappropriate. Genzo ran away, but strangely, Linda also followed him. Both of them managed to shake off that group. Linda mentioned that she just pulled something, and the cage broke, and she didn't think he was a bad guy, which is why she dared to follow him. Suddenly, another girl appeared and called Linda Miss. She was Camilla. She was acting cool and said she would defeat Genzo, but he and Linda threw stones at her. Linda denied ever having met her. Camilla angrily rushed at Genzo, thinking he had tricked her lady. But he wasn't injured, and turned back to fight Camilla. As a vampire, Camilla was strong enough to make Genzo struggle, but if it went on long term, Camilla couldn't compete with Genzo, and as a result, he pushed her so hard that she nearly broke her back. They both had to run away afterward because that group was about to find them. Genzo gave Linda a mask to deceive others. Just then, Tiger found both of them. She recognized Genzo and pushed him out of sight of others because she thought the mask wouldn't fool anyone. B.A. sneaked back to Genzo's house and finally revealed herself. Linda was about to reveal her identity, but Tiger kept stopping her. She eventually had to say everything. Linda stated that she belonged to one of the 4 families that worship the Demon Lord. As soon as she finished speaking, Camilla showed up. She didn't recognize Genzo when he took off the mask. Seeger took the opportunity to sneak into the house. Camilla was blabbering about eliminating Genzo to keep her family's secrets safe. Before she could finish her sentence, Genzo threw a vial of holy water in her face, causing her to thrash around. Genzo wanted to be even more cruel and wanted to stuff garlic into her mouth. Linda stepped in and asked to spare her maid. Genzo wanted to hear why she left home, and she said she hated life in the palace and above all, hated the food at home. Fate brought her here, so she wanted to live and work here. But the fate she was referring to was actually about the puppy, not Genzo. Sugar mentioned that they still didn't have money to pay Linda, but she just needed a place to eat and sleep, and that was enough for her to stay. Camilla had to let Linda stay here and would return to inform the boss. Sugar was also curious about the attack, and Camilla confessed that she was responsible. Just when she thought she was in the clear, Genzo knocked her out cold. "Do you all remember this princess? She is Athena, and to this day she is still desperately searching for Genzo, partly to take revenge on him for embarrassing her, since she is now always called the big-bottomed princess in the palace." Meanwhile, still struggling with expenses, Linda kept eating, and Camilla slept all day. The goods she made to sell didn't earn much. On top of that, Kenzo often bought expensive food for the pets. She went to the guild to ask for advice from her best friend, who suggested that she should prove that she is the head of the house and the manager of this place. As soon as she got home, she saw Genzo bringing home another cat. He also intended to flirt with the neighbor. Once inside, Camilla even wanted to ask for money to hire an artist to paint Linda, but she refused. Genzo wanted to buy cat supplies, but she also rejected him. At that moment, a bank representative came to collect the deposit for the loan that Genzo had scheduled for opening the store. Since it wasn't ready, he intended to refuse the loan, so Genzo urged everyone to work immediately. Camilla intended to refuse, but was forced to comply. They started dividing the tasks. Genzo looked for some physically demanding jobs, while Linda accidentally entered an eating contest, so she could earn money just by eating. Tiger worked seriously while Camilla wondered why she was being chased by the group. After a day of work, the situation worsened. Genzo was more concerned with playing with animals than working. The more Linda ate, the more the shop lost, so they forced her to pay for the eating contest. At the end of the day, Tiger was angry that they were losing money, mostly because of Linda. Genzo was kicked out midway, and Camilla was mistaken for a prostitute, which is why she was chased away. Genzo also brought home a bird. It annoyed Zigger, making her furious and demanding to pluck its feathers to cook it. She then went to the guild to explain her current situation to the guild master. He assigned her a task that paid enough for her expenses. The task was to eliminate a demon squirrel. Genzo was called in to receive the mission, and he eagerly accepted, ready to capture it to keep as a pet. As came to compete for the task with Genzo, but ended up knocking him out. Sugar took the opportunity to steal the sword. Camilla didn't want to follow Genzo, but Linda forced her to go along. The group approached the area of the demon squirrel. Genzo opened the book to look more closely, and learned that the demon squirrel would give birth to 1 to 2 offspring. But the mother would only raise the useful ones, while the useless ones would be abandoned. When they arrived, they saw 2 demon squirrels making their offspring fight. As soon as he saw the losing one, Genzo rushed in and grabbed the small one, then ran away. The 2 larger ones immediately went crazy and chased after him. Tiger wanted him to return it, but he firmly refused. He rushed in to block the beast's attack, and at that moment of distraction he ran up and hugged its neck. The beast was startled and slammed him into a rock. In that situation, Linda couldn't hold back and bit the beast. She then managed to bring back 2 battered corpses. First, she buried Camilla in the ground to help her recover quickly, and Genzo was left as he was, since he hadn't defeated the beast yet, so they had no reward money. As for the beast, the Kia was growing very fast, so the cost of food would definitely be high. But Seigo had temporarily managed the finances by selling 2 swords that she had stolen from Ha. While the world was buzzing about Genzo's disappearance, especially his lifelong rival, who had spent his entire youth just to defeat him, Genzo's sudden disappearance left this young man feeling frustrated. He wouldn't participate in any fight unless his opponent was Genzo. Meanwhile, Genzo was sitting admiring his new pet when the delivery person arrived to call him for a mission. He didn't want to leave the animals at home, but she still dragged him away, leaving the puppy to guard the house. But as soon as they stepped out of the house, the Misa brothers arrived to take the puppy as revenge against Genzo. They planned to lure the puppy away with meat and then take it. As for Genzo and Ba, the girl who was in the woods, Genzo felt something was wrong and wanted to go back. But Seigo thought he was lying because this mission was about plants, so Genzo wasn't interested. In the meantime, Iga had just returned and saw the 2 brothers lying flat on the floor. During the story, he learned that while both were trying to lure the puppy, The wolf youth had been charmed by the puppy's cuteness and had just let their guard down, resulting in both of them getting beaten by the puppy who was guarding the house. Back with Genzo, the group heard the sounds of that plant, so they ran off to find Kenzo, only to find him and be disappointed because those guys were terrible. He noted that he was only in it for passion, not for money. Camilla didn't hold back, so the two started arguing again. Tiger intervened and wondered why he couldn't hear the sounds of the other roots, only to find out that Linda had eaten them all. When he returned home, he heard from the ants about the two brothers' antics, so Genzo got angry and went straight to their house, throwing the wolf out into the street and spinning him around before tossing him into a nearby hay cart. He recalled the feeling of wrestling and realized it had been a while since he had come here. But during that time, Genzo's lifelong rival had gone to see a psychologist to treat his obsessive condition. The doctor advised him to find a new hobby, but that obsession still haunted him. At the same time, one of the remaining 4 clans summoned a warrior to confront the hero who had been summoned earlier. And the one who was called was that lifelong rival. She introduced herself as Joanna and wanted him to be the one to defeat the hero. He also introduced himself to her, but instead of using his real name, he used his stage name, Mao. Joanna showed Mao a picture of Genzo. He realized that Genzo had been hiding out here for a long time. With the opportunity at hand, he swore to defeat Genzo once and for all. Joanna and her attendant believed it was fate to summon someone who had a legitimate reason to take down the hero. Joanna, like Mao, was eager to take down her enemy, Linda. Since childhood, Joanna had been very skilled in fencing, but during friendly matches, she always lost to Linda's strength. She wanted a rematch, but Linda would only fight after eating. She fed Linda and continued to fight, but no matter how many times she tried, she still lost. Therefore, Joanna had been watching to uncover the secret behind Linda's strength and realized that, besides eating, Linda knew nothing. At a party a few years later, they met again, and Linda hardly remembered Joanna. Joanna insulted Camilla, saying she was a low-level vampire and even lost to her high-level servant. She was ready to use her connections to get Linda a better servant. On the surface, that was her intention, but she only wanted to send her own person in to investigate Linda's weaknesses. However, Linda outright refused because it was true that Camilla was a bit useless, but she still wouldn't change. Joanna challenged Linda. If her servant won, Linda had to get rid of Camilla. If Camilla won, she would admit Camilla was better than her own servant. Linda accepted immediately, partly because she was in a hurry to eat and partly to protect her subordinate. At night, both sides met in a rocky area to face each other. Joanna reiterated the conditions once more before the fight began. Linda accepted and let both sides fight. Joanna's servant, Rose, was unwavering and confident that she would definitely win. That confidence was justified because Rose had completely defeated Camilla. She fought until Camilla fell. Even so, Camilla didn't give up and cried, determined not to lose. But the more stubborn she was, the more painful it became. So Linda stopped the fight and admitted Camilla had lost. But she still wanted to keep Camilla because of the agreement. So Joanna wanted something in return. Thus, Linda bowed her head and pleaded for Camilla. Joanna was pleased and thought she had defeated Linda. She got in the car and went home. But on the way, Linda stopped the car. She stated that her family was a very warlike clan, and they would surely shed blood if they knew one of their own was humiliated. Therefore, she came to demand justice for Camilla. She transformed into a full dragon form and challenged Joanna. What happened afterward was surely very terrible, which is why Joanna still holds a grudge to this day. Joanna learned that Linda had left home as soon as the hero was summoned, so she thought Linda was more cunning than her gluttonous appearance. She still thought Linda hadn't found the hero, so she planned to eliminate the hero before Linda could find him. Meanwhile, he had also been taken to the armory. He, like Genzo, saw using weapons as illegal. The next morning, Genzo went to the pile of dirt to wake Camilla up for their mission, but she just remained sluggish. So Genzo shoveled more dirt to bury her completely. Linda watched and remembered when she had just avenged Camilla and returned. Although Camilla was foolish, she was the closest person to Linda. A few days later, while taking care of the animals as usual. Suddenly, a female hunter came to the house looking for Genzo. She boldly uttered the forbidden name and got locked up by Genzo. After being released, Camilla advised Celeste that whenever she got locked up, she should focus on her own business, because the more she tried to escape, the more painful it would be. Keizo wanted to know why she was here. She replied that she had just arrived in this town and heard from the guild leader that Genzo was the strongest here, so she wanted to come here to take him as her master. She had reasons to want to be stronger, but Genzo refused. Celeste kept begging and was willing to pay any price to become his disciple. But Genzo still refused, because she was not a beastman. Suddenly, Genzo touched Celeste and felt something strange, so he called her back and pressed her. Genzo discovered that Celeste was also a beastman, and she belonged to the reptile tribe. But her scales were only on her belly, not covering her entire body like her ancestors. Genzo agreed to take her on as a disciple, but Linda and Ziger advised her to reconsider. Celeste remained insistent because she wanted to gain strength to elevate her tribe to stand equal with humans. Genzo scheduled to train with her the next day in the mountains, because Celeste only had scales on her belly and back. Genzo wanted her to practice exercises related only to those two areas. Messi wanted her to train her arms and legs by running like him. Linda wanted her to eat everything to grow bigger. Camila wanted her to use her beauty to attract others. A day of training passed, and Celeste was able to use a wrestling move like Genzo's. After some time, Celeste transformed into a wrestler like Genzo, but she thought this was a joke, because she did not want to aspire to the image of such a bizarre wrestler. Sugar asked Scarlet why she wanted to be strong. She couldn't clearly explain. Then Genzo got angry and stormed into the guild, demanding the guild leader to crawl out here or he would deal with everyone present. They tried to calm him down, but he couldn't calm down at all, so he punched each one. The guild leader had to show up, but as soon as he appeared, the whole guild had already fled. After sitting down to talk, Genzo revealed that his disciple is Scarlet. She had been bothered and teased by the hunters here, so she trained to be able to fight back. But after training, she saw that what had happened wasn't too serious, and now she just wants to focus on training to be as skilled and amazing as Genzo. The whole guild of hunters bowed their heads and apologized to Celeste, because recently they often missed their hunts, so they took it out on her. But Genzo did not accept their apology and dragged the whole guild outside. He wanted Celeste to fight a match with them. Celeste still tried to ignore it, but Genzo insisted that she must fight, or he would execute each one of them. Slade thought Genzo cared a lot about her, so he agreed to follow him. A hunter stepped up to challenge her, and thanks to her training, Slade was able to hold his own against a skilled hunter. Just when he was gaining the upper hand, Camilla urged her to use a seductive trick, causing Scarlet to lose her weapon. She quickly picked it up and set it aside. She almost turned the tables. But just as the young man swung his sword, Genzo reminded Scarlet of her lesson. She quickly circled around and flipped him over, just like she had learned. Even though it ended peacefully, Genzo still wouldn't let it go. The guild recounted that their recent frustrations were due to a guy dressed like a wild man, wearing a mask and cloak, who attacked them and stole their prey. The girls guessed it was an AI, which made Genzo let it slide. When they returned, the three girls wanted to know if he was involved. But Genzo kept dodging the question. Suddenly, a person from the bank came to see him. When he got home, he informed Genzo that he was about to organize a tournament for entertainment and business purposes. The three girls saw this as a good opportunity, but Genzo refused. He had promised that he would pay if Genzo participated. Feeling of being a wrestler making money returned, which excited Genzo, so he agreed to participate. A few days later, the competition area was set up, but Genzo still felt something was missing. He thought it lacked animals, so the manager agreed to let more beastmen join. Genzo accidentally ran into his neighbor, so he went to her house and fought her husband. Then he invited her husband to join the competition. Her husband, who was once a fierce man, wanted to rediscover that feeling. He then went to find the Misa brothers, the wolf, but out of fear of Genzo, as soon as he saw him, he shrank back and hid under the blanket. Genzo wanted to recruit participants, so Misa went to replace his brother who was wandering around. Genzo met with the Trantin group, who were planting trees to help, so he invited them to join in. He went home and dragged Camilla along because leaving her at home was no good, and that was enough people to participate in the competition. As soon as they arrived at the competition grounds, Hazy ran over to join but brought a weapon and was knocked out by Genzo. Once again, Tiger took the opportunity to steal the spear. He then explained the rules, but a very suspicious person appeared nearby. Princess Athena was still looking for the hero, and accidentally got brought to Tsuyu's place for the tournament by the soldiers. The fighters then practiced against each other for a few rounds. Everyone was excited, but Genzo felt unsatisfied. He explained the rules in detail for everyone to compete fairly. Kenzo noticed Seeger also had a stall, so he went to check it out, and she was only selling some souvenirs and shirts. Kenzo seemed tired, as he had to teach, explain the rules thoroughly, and write scripts for the commentators. The tournament then began. We will skip some of the opening matches and go to the match between the neighbor and Celeste. Since she had learned the techniques, Celeste quickly took down the neighbor and won many rounds. However, Genzo was still not satisfied because he thought it would only be interesting with rival pairs. The next match was Genzo's. He had to team up with Camilla to face Haz and Misa. Since Camilla had no AI, it was only Genzo to pair with. The two kept fighting each other, so during the match, Camilla deliberately kicked Genzo in the face instead of the opponent. The two were arguing on the field, so the others took the opportunity to counterattack. Genzo and Camilla then turned back, each handling one, and took down both Haas and Misa. Suddenly the wolf young man showed up, so he was forced to go onto the field. Commentator thought the wolf was Genzo's rival, since he had overcome psychological trauma to come here. Afterward, whatever he said was not heard, and he was put in place of Haas. But being in place here means to take the hits instead. At the end of the day, the tournament was successfully organized, and everyone decided to hold a party as promised. The manager paid Genzo handsomely, but Seeger ended up with a pile of bills. She went home and started scolding when all three had spent all the money. Genzo had ruined the stall of others. Linda was eating a lot, and Camilla was downing a bunch of alcohol. A few days later, Camilla got lazy again, so Genzo tackled her in a match and made her take the dog for a walk. On the way back, she cried like a river when the kids teased her because they saw Camilla being tackled right in front of the door. Just then, the princess from before returned to see Genzo. He didn't recognize her, and even got knocked down by Linda and Camilla because they thought he had done something inappropriate to her. Genzo tried to explain, but Seeger advised him to just confess. She would visit him every day, but now when Genzo looked back, he remembered she was the princess who summoned him here, so he went around and tackled her again in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Joanna was taking Mao somewhere, when B.A., the Beast Man, blocked the way. So Mao took the opportunity to show off his martial arts a bit. But after taking down B.A. the monkey, he was haunted by seeing a creature that looked very much like Genzo's dog. Back to Genzo, Seeger advised him to apologize to Athena, but he thought she deserved it. Athena introduced herself and said that Genzo was the hero, but Camilla claimed he was just a weird pervert, not a hero. The two started arguing, and Athena wanted Genzo to follow her to defeat the Demon King. Camilla stood up to defend the Demon King because she thought heroes were just bloodthirsty people who like to kill beastmen, but Athena argued that the Demon King was the leader of the disgusting monsters. Hearing that, Genzo wanted no part in it because he just wanted humans and beastmen to live together. Athena thought he had fallen and was going to kill him and summon a new one. But just as she opened the door for the soldiers to come in, Genzo charged out and took down all the soldiers. He then grabbed Athena's hand and rolled her like a pillow. Meanwhile, Joanna had summoned all Beastmen soldiers to prepare for an attack. Mao was excited to lead such an army. During that time, for several days, Athena kept coming to Genzo for help, but each time she got flipped and left. The next day, Linda noticed Genzo was deep in thought and thought he was in love. Seeger asked him about it, but knew he would say something stupid again, and sure enough, when he wanted to know what the Demon King was like, Siger just told him to go ask the guild. So he ran straight to the guild to ask about the Demon King. Everyone thought he wanted to eliminate the Demon King, so they wanted to support him. Haz also wanted to help with a new sword, but he was immediately knocked out by Genzo, and the sword returned to Sigur's hands once again. Genzo declared that he would handle the Demon King alone and forbade everyone to interfere. They thought he was strong enough to consider the Demon King as a human, so they continuously called Genzo a hero. When he returned, he still had no information about the Demon King. Linda and Camilla were concerned about this, so they decided to hide the identity of the Demon King from Genzo. Camilla was confident that she had a way to show Genzo, but the characteristics of many creatures for Genzo to piece together, but he found the result of what he drew to be really beautiful. Just then, Athena arrived. She looked at Genzo's scribbled drawing and immediately threw it away, making him angry and tackle her to the floor. Athena sat up and said that the Demon King's side had summoned a Demon King from another world here. Genzo heard this and became excited because he was about to have two creatures to conquer. Mao behaved like Genzo when he rushed in to challenge and asked where Genzo was. At the end of the day, Genzo and the two girls he was looking for were approached by the two Tran Tin who came to report news. Genzo quickly ran over and saw the leader was injured. They had sketched the portrait of the attacker, and Genzo was surprised to find that it was his sworn enemy. The next morning, Athena came to inform him about this new demon lord, but Genzo didn't care because he did know him, but it wasn't his concern. Even though Athena tried to let him know that the demon would surely attack this town, Genzo still ignored it and planned to take his dog for a walk. But when he went out the door, he was shocked to find that his dog had been stolen by that AI. Meanwhile, Mao and Joanna discovered that two monkeys had retrieved a notice about the previous tournament. Mao was excited because it showed exactly the move that Genzo could execute, while Joanna was happy because Camilla was in the picture, and certainly Linda had also been eliminated by the hero. At that moment, Genzo was desperately searching for his puppy. The two girls divided up to search. Siger was following the scent around the house, but the smell didn't lead anywhere. Just then, the bank manager passed by and remembered seeing the puppy at a noble's house in the area. When they arrived, the puppy was indeed there, but this man had bought it, so it wouldn't be easy to get it back. Athena wanted to know how much he paid. The amount was actually very large, but Athena hurried back to the palace to get the money and pressured Genzo to owe her. Then she pushed the task of defeating the demon lord onto him. Meanwhile, Genzo tried to call his puppy back, but it loved food more than Genzo. He agreed to let this family keep the puppy if it loved being there more. The daughter of this family felt sympathy for Genzo because she saw him crying so much. The girl used her tears to pressure her father to return it, but the father didn't want to make it easy, so he forced them to pay half the price. The girl used her tears even more to pressure him, so he reluctantly lowered the price further. Even then, they still didn't have enough money to pay. Genzo accepted the reality and decided to let the puppy stay with that girl, because ultimately, what he wanted was to help people bond more with animals. Siger saw him so sad and took all his savings to help Genzo redeem the puppy. He went to redeem it and allowed the girl to come play. At that time, they asked the nobleman who had sold the puppy to him. He said there were two beastmen and a masked person. Genzo realized who it was and immediately rushed to the three people who were celebrating their successful deal, only to find death coming to give them a beating. At that moment, Athena brought the money, but it was too late. As the group returned, they saw two beastmen in front of the house. Once inside, they realized that the group was already waiting for them. The two sides greeted each other, and Joanna thought Linda was a traitor for cooperating with the hero. But this is a difficult thing to talk about. Both sides keep arguing, so Mao wants everyone to just shut up. He challenged Genzo. Just then, the manager arrived. He saw this as a good opportunity to organize the tournament again. Siger quickly joined in because there was a chance to make money. Linda also got involved because she was about to eat. Everyone participated, so Genzo had no reason to refuse. That night, Camilla begged Genzo to teach her to become a professional wrestler because she wanted to settle her feud with Rose. The next morning, Camilla came to ask Genzo when they would practice. He was angry because he had said they would practice in the morning. But in the morning, when he called, he found her still asleep. Realizing that, both of them then started to train. In the meantime, the two girls and the manager were still discussing how to build the event. They were so focused that they didn't hear Camilla's screams. Outside, Camilla asked for a break, but Genzo refused because she was still too weak. He wanted to know how strong Camilla's opponent was before setting her exercises. But when she tried to speak, Linda stopped her. Meanwhile, Mao and the other two were excitedly looking forward to the match, because they were sure they would win. Camilla's practice went well until now. He let her continue to train on her own, because he was called away by Tiger. Camilla wanted to have a drink before continuing to train, but Genzo wouldn't allow it. He wanted her to be serious if she wanted to win. Inside, Genzo was concerned because they didn't have enough people to fight and needed 5 matches. And currently, they only had enough for 4 matches. So Genzo went to find the Misa brothers and invited them to join. They were still scared, but Seigo promised a generous reward. So they reluctantly agreed. They also invited Hess to join. He thought that maybe they should bring in more people to turn it into a team competition. Just then Athena ran over, so both of them asked her for a few things. The girls then went out to distribute flyers to invite people to come watch. They also carefully discussed building the arena afterward. Stalls kept popping up. The contestants also trained diligently, and the event day arrived. Everyone was fully prepared. Genzo also checked on the contestants before sending them out. The manager motivated them by promising many rewards, but they all fought out of passion, or at least that's what Genzo taught them. But no, Genzo was now also fighting for money to open a shop. The stands were now packed with people, so the opening match was allowed to begin. Opening were Celestia, Hayes, and Athena. But dressed in wrestling attire, Athena didn't discuss strategy and went ahead, so she was thrown off the mat. Haz handled the ring himself and immediately swapped places with Celestia. The match ended with Genzo winning. In the second match were the neighbor and Trantin, who quickly won their match. The third match was the Misa brothers, who were quickly overwhelmed by 2 bigger opponents and once again got beaten up. Now was the fourth match, the rematch of the 2 female vampires. This time, Camilla was no longer at a disadvantage, because they were fighting martial arts and not with weapons. Just as she said that, Camilla was pushed back in one direction, but she remembered Genzo's lesson, that no matter how strong you are, there will be times when you're off guard. But wait, Camilla was knocked down, so when Rose rushed in to finish her off, she turned around, grabbed Rose's neck, and threw her down to the mat. She thought she had won, so she stood up to celebrate, not paying attention to Genzo outside. He wanted Camilla to pin her opponent down for the referee to count. And so the lesson taught backfired, as Camilla was the one who let her guard down. She was tightly embraced by Rose and flipped backward. Camilla lost just because she was overconfident. So everyone should remember not to sleep on their victory. Even though she lost, Genzo still praised her for fighting very well. Linda also didn't blame her because she had done her best. Now it was the final match between Genzo and Mao. Everyone was looking forward to a dramatic battle between the leader and the strongest. Both sides stepped onto the field and were introduced by the commentator. The bell rang, but neither rushed into each other because both understood the opponent well, so they couldn't afford to make mistakes. Mao was waiting for the opportunity when Genzo charged forward. Mao was caught off guard, but Genzo was forced to fight because the audience was falling asleep. Then the 2 sides started hitting each other and recounted how they came to this point. But in the end, both were just verbally sparring. The president told both to stop laughing and just fight. Both really charged at each other, hitting while explaining their reasons for wanting to win. Mao started to gain the upper hand when he managed to take Genzo down, but the dog startled him. He was very afraid of dogs and had previously gone to the zoo during training to get used to them, but he was so scared that he ended up in the lion's cage and punched all the lions in there. A fierce beast wasn't afraid, but feared a little dog. Joanna and Rose also realized and secretly lured the dog away. Linda and Camila took the opportunity to grab all the food and tiger beer. Was panicking because the money was about to go down the river. The manager, who was once concerned about money, now also had an interest in fighting. While everyone was fighting, the two fighters returned to the ring. Genzo was knocked down and took a powerful hit, but he quickly got back up and threw Mao with a signature move of his own. He held Mao down until the referee finished counting. As soon as Genzo won, everyone stopped fighting and cheered loudly. Victory officially belongs to Team Genzo. Victory officially belongs to Team Genzo. He let Mao know that if he wanted to fight again, he could come any time because he would be ready. The manager then brought the prize money. Genzo thought that he could now pursue his dreams. Joanna and Rose felt embarrassed, so they left. Linda reminded both of them that she would stay to keep an eye on the hero, preventing him from getting involved with the Demon King. Now it was time to split the money. The other fighters came to collect their earnings, which exceeded the target, but the share for the fighters was just a receipt, because Genzo and the others had caused too much damage, plus the amount spent on drinks and food that the other two had hoarded, leaving the fighters with just a debt note. She rushed back to the club and saw everyone eating and drinking happily there. She received another receipt but accepted it, since everyone was very happy, and she didn't want to ruin the atmosphere. The next morning, she took Genzo's chrysanthemum. She sold Genzo's chrysanthemum and made a decent amount of money. Mao set off to train so he could return to fight again, while Genzo's group continued with their lives. They took care of animals and worked to earn money as usual.